would you say it's fair that there is a consensus that private equity returns over the medium term are only going in one direction, though, and that's not up?
It depends, right? I think there's a few things to that. I mean, I think the high-level sense of it is that there's more competition and there's higher prices. Because if you think about the way, there's only really three ways to make money in a private equity deal. One is you take a business that makes £100 million of profit and turn it into one that makes 200 million, which sounds easy but isn't. The second is that you buy something for 7 or 8 times its cash flow and sell it for 10 or 11, which again sounds easy but isn't, and is increasingly less likely to happen. And the third is that you have an equitization of the debt structure. So you effectively take out the debt in a deal and you equitize the enterprise value and you make money that way. And that again sort of used to be true but not so much. So I think what you've been left with, and where you're going, is there's a huge focus on number one, because that lever, that I'm going to transform this from X to Y lever, is actually the one that most firms have got left to play with. So, in the sense that levers 2 and 3 are becoming way less relevant, then there's more focus on one, which basically means if you want to make the same aggregate and you're not flying on 3 engines anymore, you're flying on one, then the one engine that you're flying on better be a really good engine, because it's going to have to keep the whole plane in the air. Now, it's not that it can't, but it just changes the sort of the pattern of outcomes a bit, I think. So, what we see is that really good private equity still seems really resilient at the returns that it used to be able to make, but there's kind of less of it. So I suppose what that probably means is that the median might come under pressure, and that I would agree with. And I think the other thing as well that you have to be wary of is this is kind of a business that's all about time. So that one of the challenges is it's not that the fund or the deal returns might come under so much pressure. It's just that it might take a lot longer to get there. So the sort of classic, I want to get 2.5x on my deal. Well, you might, but you might have done that in halcyon days. You might have done that in 2 years because you could have created it through a multiple arbitrage. In today's world, you're probably looking at 5, and if there's any sort of speed bump that we hit cycle-wise, then 5 is going to go to 8. So actually, you might make the same capital multiple, but you're going to have your capital tied up for longer, and your IRR is just a mathematical result going to come down. So I think it's a pretty complicated, nuanced question, but I still sort of card-carrying believer that this done really, really well is like nothing else. But it's going to get harder to be able to maintain that because of that dynamic that's out there.